Here's the proof. Blake Lively took the biggest hit to her reputation in her career, and now we know why. Justin Baldoni allegedly participated and paid for a smear campaign against Blake. During the filming of It Ends With Us, Blake Lively had complained about the behavior from Justin Baldoni and also the lead producer, Jamie Heath. Wayfarer, the studio that Justin owns a part of, agreed to a bunch of things that would help Blake and the rest of the cast members feel safer on set. And the lead producer, Jamie Heath, also signed paperwork saying that he would not retaliate against Blake for the accusations. Well, in August, just before the release of the film, Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath both hired a crisis public relations expert, and this happened to be Melissa Nathan, who also worked for Johnny Depp in taking down Amber Heard. This did get leaked at the time that Justin hired a PR rep, but everyone started thinking it was because Blake and the rest of the cast had something going on with Justin and they were refusing to take pictures or do press tours with him. Now Blake has gotten all the text messages and emails because of a subpoena, and it shows Justin and Jamie talking through text saying they feared that Blake was going to reveal all the negative things that happened on set while filming. After this smear campaign had been well on its way, Blake knew something was going on, so she got a forensic review done by a brand marketing specialist, and they said a high percentage of the media online was basically attacking her, and most of it had connection somehow with Justin Baldoni. They said this was not normal considering the length of her career, and it looked like she'd been a target of a marketing scheme, a basic smear campaign. So this is when her legal team started to take action, and they put in the subpoena for all the text messages and emails, and they received thousands and thousands showing what they believe now was a targeted attack at her, all instigated by Justin Baldoni and team. Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, has come out of this basically squeaky clean. He was even honored last month at this event, which honored men who elevate women and combat gender-based violence and promote gender equality worldwide. Looks like the tides are changing though, because his talent agency did just dump him today. Okay, let's talk about this lawsuit now. So Blake has filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Wayfarer, which is the production team that Justin Baldoni has a hand in, Steve Sarowitz. Now he's the millionaire, he's the money behind this production company, as well as the co-chair of Wayfarer. Also, Mr. Wallace, Miss Nathan, so they were the ones that are on the PR and the crisis management teams, and Jennifer Abel, who is another public relations exec. Now, she's alleging sexual harassment and retaliation, among other claims. So this was all filed with the California Civil Rights Department, and it's basically a precursor to a lawsuit. It looks like this may have all started last May. So Justin Baldoni last May noticed that Ryan Reynolds, who's married to Blake Lively, blocked him on Instagram. Once he noticed this, he messaged his publicist, who's Jennifer Abel, and said this: we should have a plan for if she does the same when the movie comes out. So he was worried that she was going to block him once the movie came out. And he says, plans make me feel more at ease. So there was a writer's strike in 2023, and in November of 2023, they were set to go back and resume filming. Well, Blake didn't feel comfortable, so she had everyone, all the cast members, producers, etc., sit down and do an all-hands-on-deck meeting to discuss their concerns. So this is all recorded, and it's in a letter written by Blake's lawyer, and it was presented to Wayfarer. And this is what the lawyers wrote. They said, our client is willing to forego a more formal HR process in favor of finishing the film as long as the set is safe moving forward. So this was agreed on, and they all had this meeting in January before filming began. So Blake does say by the time spring arrived that the men's behavior had improved, but now they were in a bit of a creative battle. Now Sony was backing Blake, so they each made their own cut of the film, and then they allowed Sony and Wayfarer to choose the cut, and they chose Blake's. Once it got close to the time the film was going to be released, Blake and the rest of the cast told Wayfarer that they would not be doing any pictures or promotions or press or anything with Justin Baldoni. It's also interesting to note that Colleen Hoover also said the same. Apparently she was dissatisfied with whatever was going on with Justin Baldoni, and once he told her about the accusations from Blake, she became even more upset. Now, all of this has come from text messages from Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath. So then the first week of August hits, and we've got Baldoni and Heath hiring this super crisis management specialist, Melissa Nathan, and she has her own company now, but guess who's the majority stakeholder in the company? Scooter Braun. Isn't he like the arch nemesis of Taylor Swift, Blake's best friend? On August 2nd, the smear campaign gets going. So it looks like an initial planning document is sent to Wayfair and Baldoni from the PR crisis management team. And they focus on a couple points in there. And one of them is being Blake saying that it's an imbalance of power to take creative control of the film from him. And that was a big focus, if you remember, the beginning of August. Now, Baldoni writes back and says that he wants more. He says, I'm not in love with the document they sent. Not sure I'm feeling the protection I felt on the call. So his publisher, Jennifer Abel, writes back to Melissa Nathan and says this: I think you guys need to be tough and show the strength of what you guys can do in these scenarios. He wants to feel like she can be buried. And Melissa writes back and says, of course, but you know, when we send over documents, we can't send over the work we will or could do because that could get us in a lot of trouble. We can't write, we will destroy her. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. You know we can bury anyone. 3 days later, Justin Bieber sends Melissa this screenshot. This is a picture of an article accusing Hailey Bieber of being a bully. It had like 19 million views or something. And Justin writes, this is what we would need. And she writes back and says, basically, it's going to be a full social account takedown. We're going to change narratives, and all of this will be most importantly untraceable. A couple days later, they bring in Jed Wallace to the team. Now, he works for his own company. He says he's in public relations and crisis management, and he calls himself a hired gun. August 6th, we have the premiere of the movie, and this is when the first wave of questions start coming out. It's actually people on TikTok that started noticing that Blake and the rest of the cast didn't follow Justin Baldoni on Instagram, and they started wondering why, thinking there was something going on set with Blake and Justin. And just 2 days before this, we had Baldoni's publicist messaged the crisis management lady saying, I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with, just to get ahead of it. And then Nathan replies and says that she's already spoken off the record to some editor at the Daily Mail and says she's ready when we are. So after the release of the movie, we see a whole bunch of articles being released, and it is talking about this rift between Justin and Blake, but it's all saying it's over creative differences. There was a little bit about Justin's behavior leaked, but not really any of the big accusations. A text message between the crisis management lady, Melissa Nathan, and his publicist saying he doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. Nathan says that she's kept allegations against him out of the stories, and major news outlets are standing down on the HR complaints. August 10th, we had this reporter release the YouTube video of an interview with Blake from 2016. Now it's coming out that she may have been part of the smear campaign. She actually did the same thing to Amber Heard years before during the Johnny Depp trial, and both Johnny Depp and Justin Baldoni had hired Melissa Nathan as their crisis management person. Right around this time, Blake starts being accused of being tone deaf or insensitive to DV survivors because of how she's promoting the movie. But official promotion plans have now come out. They actually instructed the cast to focus more on uplifting aspects of the movie and not the abuse, and to also embrace the whole floral theme. And after this backlash starts, his PR team messages him and says, start focusing on DV survivors and not be light and fluffy. Now the gloating starts. So Jed Wallace, one of the crisis management people, messages Melissa Nathan and says, we are crushing it on Reddit. And another employee texts and says, we've started to see a shift on social due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative. Then we've got Melissa Nathan message his publicist saying, and socials are really ramping up in his favor. She must be furious. It's actually sad because it just shows you how people really want to hate on women. There's even more, but unfortunately I'm running out of time on this one, so make sure you hit follow because I'm definitely going to be following this. Now, the movie has just been released on Netflix, and it looks like Justin has already started his PR campaign for this.